Welcome into the October 2nd edition of the Coaches Show. Welcome into KSST Radio. I'm Sports Director Ross Lubinsky, and we've got a good week of Wildcat and Ladycat sports in review, so let's get right into the action. So volleyball had a pretty tense week this week. Tuesday, they were in Hallsville at Bobcat Coliseum, and Coach Bailey Dorner, head volleyball coach for the Ladycats volleyball team, said as much last Tuesday after the win in Pine Tree to the Lady Pirates. She said, winning in Hallsville is always tough, and we saw that on Tuesday as the Ladycats were able to really challenge Hallsville, winning the first set, but then Hallsville took the next two. Sets 2 and 3, Sulphur Springs was able to come back and take set 4 and push it to 5, but unfortunately fell just short to the Hallsville Ladycats, 15-13 in set 5. However, they used that motivation from a close loss to Hallsville going into Friday as they stormed out to a dominating 2-0 lead over the visiting Longview Lady Lobos, who came to the Sulphur Springs High School main gym last night. They won in set 1 25-12 and then 25-17 before Longview was able to storm back and stage a furious comeback, taking sets 3 and 4 to tie it up. And then set 5, the Ladycats were able to ride some early momentum to get the set 5 win and win the match versus the Longview Lady Lobos to give the Sulphur Springs Ladycats an 18-12 overall record and 4-2 in district, firmly putting them as the number 4 team in District 15 5A halfway through their district season. The loss for Longview puts them 2 games behind Sulphur Springs at 2-4 in district. Next up, Coach Bailey Dorner and her squad will be in the second game of a 2-game homestand when on Tuesday, October 5th, they welcome the Mount Pleasant Lady Tigers to the Sulphur Springs High School main gym for the second match between those two programs. For those who may know or may not know, perhaps, the Ladycats volleyball team had their district opener in Mount Pleasant on September 10th, sweeping the Lady Tigers 3-0. So no doubt they'll be hoping for similar results on Tuesday when the Mount Pleasant Lady Tigers come to the Sulphur Springs High School main gym to play the Ladycats volleyball team. Freshmen and JV will get things going at 5 o'clock, and Varsity will be at its normal Tuesday time of 6 p.m. So best of luck to Coach Bailey Dorner's volleyball team, and no doubt they're going to be hoping for not 3 straight games of 5-set matches. But I should mention that last night the win versus Longview in the 5-set thriller was the first 5-set win for Coach Bailey Dorner's volleyball team this season in 4 attempts. So congratulations to Coach Bailey Dorner and her program for getting the huge win. Cross country today are out in Mount Pleasant taking part in the Titus Invitational. And should be a good district meet for Coach Ross Hicks and his program, and wishing them nothing but the best. And last weekend, for those who attended, the cross-country team had the first ever Wildcat Invitational at the SSISD Athletic Complex last week, and several runners had personal record times, including senior Jose Mejia, who got second overall in a crowded field of talented runners and programs. Coach Ross Hicks said that Mejia beat a number of runners who qualified for state in years past. So congratulations to Mejia and the entire Wildcat program, and best of luck to them who are currently running right now in Mount Pleasant at the Titus Invitational. Middle school football had a pretty good week as well, as both the A and B teams start their season 3-0. The A team was able to shut out the Hallsville Bobcats 35-0, and the B team had a pretty similar result while they didn't get the shutout versus Hallsville. They won, I believe, 33-16. But either way, both A and B teams, 8th grade A and B teams for the football teams, start the season 3-0, so congratulations to Coach Eddie Flores and his program for hitting the ground running and having a great start to their season. And then, of course, joining us today is Wildcat Team Tennis Coach Tony Martinez and his squad were out in Hallsville on Tuesday taking on the Bobcats. How'd that go for you and your program?
Well, it was a tough going, and it was a heartbreaker because we had a chance. You know, we were playing for 3rd place in the playoffs, and the winner would get the 2nd place team in the other division, which would be between White House and John Tyler. But we had some matches, and we thought, and we strategically worked with Coach Mike Metter, Betty Gooch, great coaches. We went to statistics looking at their matches prior to playing on Tuesday night to where we needed to put our players in the right position to make the challenge. and we came close. And so, but we fell 11-8. But there were some matches could have gone either way. We won the first set here and the second set there, and we really thought we could probably pull it off by 10-9. That was our prediction. But the second prediction was, if we don't do that, we were probably going to lose 11-8. So we were close. It wasn't like in the years past. We did go look at the score sheets from last year, and we were looking, hey, we lost this match 17-2 last year. So with that, we tell the kids, hey, we're improving. And when we were here tonight, we were improving this evening. And there's nothing to hang your heads down. And everybody competed. What I really enjoyed and admire about our team is that, we support each other. It would be a tough match, then everybody would follow that tough match, go follow it there. And we have another match going on, then other 2 or 3 players would go follow it. So that's what, really was, I think is the beauty of team tennis, is where, the teams out there. We just saw the Ryder Cup this past weekend, and we were in that same mode. And that's what, that's what usually what's good about team tennis. And the kids weren't where they, years past, they might lose and then they may just sit over there, and thinking we're going to lose the whole match anyway. But now we're still fighting, even if looks like we're not going to win. I never tell the kids what the score is. I just say it's close. They'll say, "Hey, who's winning? Who's winning?" I don't know yet. We're still in the matches. We're still involved. So you still need to be out there cheering for your team. Whether I do know or don't know, that's always been my answer. Go out there, support your team. You'll find out later. But right now we're still in the hunt. We're still competing. We're still fighting. We're battling for these points. So let's go out there. So we're, like I said, I feel like we've really done a good job this year, and that's what I think my philosophy is to teach the kids how to be, team supporters. That's what team is all about. It's not I, this, you always hear that there's no I in team, and there's not. So we've done a good job with that. Those 2 coaches have been excellent on the court and off the court with the kids. And so I'm very, very blessed to have, Coach Mike Metter, Coach Betty Gooch, helping us with our program. These I call them co-coaches. I don't call them assistant coaches. They're called co-coaches because whatever they say and they decide, that they have, I let them go. They have free reign because they know what they're doing out there on the courts. So with that, we're good. We're blessed as a program to have these other coaches, the 2 coaches that we have right now.
And we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we return, we'll have plenty of more team tennis to talk about. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the October 2nd edition of the Coaches Show, and joining me again is Wildcats team tennis coach Tony Martinez, and we talked about the Tuesday loss in Hallsville, but I'd kind of like to work our way backwards and kind of work our way through the season, and I was going over the calendar, and I was surprised to see that 2 months ago to the day your season started,
Yes.
and began with 2 tri-matches.
Right. Yeah, we started back August the 2nd on a Monday, and we played Sherman that morning, and we lost, but they're a good team, great team. Rodney Pilcher has a great team over there. That afternoon we had to go against Denison, and we were fortunate enough to pull off the win there. They had beaten us the last 2 years as we've gone out there the past few years, and we never got a win over Denison. And so it looked good that afternoon. So it was a good day. And that way we could see what we'd done, what we had accomplished over the summer. We've been working out 2-a-days. We've had all through June and July being here. So doing that work, it did pay off for that Saturday, that Monday, Tuesday coming back to play those 2 matches. And then I don't know what the next match was. Who we went after was
Mesquite.
Poteet. Never had played Mesquite Poteet. He's a friend of mine. I'd worked with him down in South Texas, and we finally got time to go over there. Good team. I think we barely pulled the win out. It could have been 11-8, 10-9, but it was still a good match for our kids, to play somebody entirely different that we've never played before. So we were real happy with that on that turnaround. Then our next match
That was at Bullard.
at Bullard. We played it. We were fortunate enough to play TJC. Bullard's a real good team. They're in the other district in the playoffs, but we won't be facing them. But they came on strong. I think we probably maybe gotten 5 matches that day, 4 or 5. But it was a real test for our kids, and it's also an eye opener for our kids to know, hey, we might have won the other matches, but this is truly a good team. And it got us where we wanted to see where we wanted to place our kids at, strategically putting our doubles team, different girls combinations, boys combinations, to get us ready for the district, starting off the district. So that was a really good match for us in the beginning of at the summer.
And then after that were 2 matches, Greenville here at the Tennis Center, and then a shortened match at Tyler High.
We went to, the Greenville match. We lost, but technically I really played the majority of my JV players. I was just letting them it didn't really matter at that point. I was more put my JV out there that day because I wanted to see. They hadn't competed in the Bullard matches. They haven't competed in the Denison matches. So I put the JV kids out there. And we did lose that match pretty close. I'm going to say 9-7 or so, but we were very competitive also with our JVs, so it gave us an eye because with those JVs, we had to pull up a couple of those to play varsity this year. So or else they're on standby to step in to play varsity. So that was the reason with the Greenville match for us. That was more of a practice match, but not making no excuses. Greenville still has a good team, and we did lose to them. Then the next one we were looking forward to, and we've been waiting for all summer to play, was John Tyler. We've been fortunate enough to beat John Tyler the last 3 or 4 years, and he really had a team coming in that was going to be a challenge. They have done well. They hadn't, graduated anybody in the last 2 years. So Coach Q really had a team that I knew it was going to be a battle. I think we were probably at 3-all after doubles, and then the rain came. And we were up in one of the other matches, so I felt like we could have been ahead 4-3. So we were really looking to get at that point, but we waited for an hour, and we waited another hour. And after 2 hours, it became about 7:30, we decided to call the match. So with that, that was our preseason. It was still a good look for us to be ready for district. And then our first district match was against Mount Pleasant, and we did real well. The kids over there are very competitive, but they just got a coach who's only been there for 2 years, but she's doing a great job. All I can tell you is, like I said, I like the coaches that were there in our district. I like going against them, and that was good there. So she's taken over, and she is really going to bring that program around. So happy for that for our district. I guess our third one coming after that one would be Longview. Texas High. Texas High comes to town. We got beat up pretty bad right there. And that's Texas High. It's been since I've been here for 8 years, but I know it's been an ongoing before I got here 8 years. You're just not going to be able to compete with these guys. I mean, we're competing and we're battling, but we're not winning those points that we need, the crucial points. But it was still, the kids still walked off with their heads held off, and we were still proud of them because, like I said, the team was led by 2 good captains that night where we were fighting in a lot of matches. And then we go on from T-High over to
Longview.
Going to Longview, another tough team that just came back into our district here this past year, where they've been up in the 6A, and they're still a tough team. We have only gotten like maybe 1 match or no matches over them. Last year was 19-0. This year we had our chance. We were up in 2 or 3 of the girls' doubles match, but this match went their way, went 12-8. But 2 match swings, we could have been up 10-9. So with that, it was really a great night for Sulphur Springs tennis against Longview. Now we could see what we have done all summer and what we did in preseason, what was paying off, and all the combinations of getting the right people in the right place. that we had really improved. That's the I guess what I'm really happy about was seeing total improvement of our program over those 3 months right there.
Of course. And then that leads into the very pivotal Pine Tree Pirates coming to Sulphur Springs, and you said in weeks past that a lot of those matches, Texas High, Longview, Texas High and Longview, that a lot of those matches were kind of mental preparation for the Pine Tree Pirates coming to town.
That's true. I felt bad. I even told the squad before we take this place, when we put this calendar together back in April, I already knew that this was going to be the match. I knew what we were doing all summer, what we were going to do at preseason, what we were going to do with T-High and Longview was going to all come to this particular match, because this makes it whether you make it into the playoffs or you don't make it into the playoffs. It's either them or us are going to go to the playoffs. And so it worked out great. It was, and thank goodness it was a home field advantage, and it was good. But the parents, the support of the parents, the support of the kids, it all paid off that night. So we did pull off that win. And I'm not going to say it was easy, but it was a little bit more comfortable. In the beginning, it was a little tight, but then we pulled away with our girls' singles, and we won all the girls' singles that night. So we did really well that evening. So really happy and very proud of the team against Pine Tree. And then after that, after the Pine Tree, then we felt like we have it. Our next goal was, hey, we got into fourth place, well, let's go for third place. Now we're going against a good friend of mine, Paul Haney. Paul Haney's a kid that I taught tennis to back in 2000. He graduated from Tolosa Midway in Corpus Christi, where I came from. And I enjoyed working with him for the 4 years there at high school. But what I'm really happy to see is, hey, what he's doing today, what he has done at Hallsville over the last 10 or 12 years. I'm very proud of this coach. And not only that, hey, I taught him how to play, taught him how to get, how to act on the court and everything like that. He's done everything. He's beaten my team in the past just as a player, but now as a coach, he's done a great job. And if I lose, it's losing to a good coach. That's good.
And this is just for my own ignorance, but before Haney arrived at Hallsville, were they prior to that? Were they still the powerhouse tennis program?
No, they were not a powerhouse. They weren't the powerhouse in the beginning. From what I had read and gathered, he was kind of reluctant to take the job because he already knew that it wasn't going to be fun for the first year or two, and it wasn't fun for him. But hearing his stories and then what he's done, and he's really building a program. They just got a middle school program about a year ago.
Wow.
They've never had a middle school program. So he struggled with that, trying to fight to get that. So he's making really good improvements over there. I don't see him going anywhere. I think he's happy where he's at, and he loves his job there. And like I said, very proud when you have one of your kids, from the past, go on to do what he's doing right now. So, like I said, it's just a great feeling to see.
When you take on a former player like Haney, who obviously, like you mentioned, is coaching, does it give you kind of a tactical advantage because you maybe knew his tendencies as a player, or?
Yes, we strategize. He knew me, he knows me from the past, and he knows how I coach, and he really was. And the first thing we did when we got off the bus, I did not go over there and talk with him or meet with him. I stayed with my team. Coach Metter went over to him and tried to get his lineup and everything. Nobody would give each other the lineup. And he goes like, Martinez is still over there strategizing, isn't he? And Coach Metter, yes, he is. And so, and I'm going to tell you, Paul Haney is an elite chess player. I mean, one of the top chess players in the state of Texas. I mean, if you're talking to one or two chess players with the mind in the state of Texas, that's Paul Haney. And that's the way he's always been, even on the court. He still strategizes using his mental capabilities from chess. And I still haven't been able to beat him. Even when we do the tennis thing, we were close that night. We strategized. But I think I still had the right, I'll say my pawns and everything, I had them all in the right place. I had every position covered. We just had to execute that night. That was the only thing that fell back. I finally was able to go to against the master of chess, and I was there, but we did not get to pull off. I didn't pull off the win, but we're getting close. That's the thing. And here was the sad, the thing for him. We're sitting there before they played. They had a presentation, a senior presentation. He loses 10 seniors this year, 10 seniors. So we kept thinking, well, maybe that could be something bright on our side to look at in the future, that he's going to be in a rebuilding stage next year. We're losing 3 or 4, we're losing 3 seniors, but we're not rebuilding. I mean, the majority of our team is out there, 3/4 of our team's out there. So we have some great kids coming up, and we have some great kids who are freshmen who we didn't make the team this year, but they'll be there next year to take the place of the seniors we lose. So we're not going to be rebuilding. We're still running and gunning next year.
And like we've talked about earlier in this coach's show, so many times, and you start out, it's tough because you play Mount Pleasant program that's slowly but surely making progress, and then you go into Texas High, as we mentioned, a dominant powerhouse tennis program. But from there, you can visibly see the improvements, and even if you just glance at the score for the sets, yeah, I mean, you see. Granted, you won a few matches versus T High, and then you made it really close versus Longview and Pine Tree. So I mean, and Hallsville, of course. So I mean, you can visibly see the improvement, and don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. But the news that Hallsville is losing a number of talented seniors does make the future seem pretty bright for Sulphur Springs tennis.
Yeah, it does. So now he's still got kids coming up.
Sure.
Knowing Paul Haney, he's got kids in the wings ready to step on the court and take over. Here's the sad part. It happened Thursday night. Our JV did play at Hallsville, and they did beat us 14-4. And so we can see a lot of those players are going to be moving up into those, filling up those shoes of those seniors. So I was happy for a day or two, and then Thursday night I thought I had to sit back and think, okay, he's not losing 9 seniors, he's gaining 9 JV players that are being bumped up. So that's how good he's done with his program. So I thought I had a chess move, and I thought I had him in check. Now out of checkmate right now. So we're gonna have to wait and see.
But the good news is that a number of freshmen performed in Hallsville on Tuesday, and it sounded like they performed pretty well.
Yes, Elisant, Malachi Negrete, and Westland won. He's a really upcoming freshman for our boys. I felt like this next year he should be our, the next year too, the next 3 years, should be our number 1 guy here, for the next 3 years. He's gone on and done some great things, and he's working on the side. He has his father helping him out, and that's another good. He's a good player, so we're happy that when he gets finished with us practice, then he goes out and works out with his father. So the kid is growing. His dad is 6'6", so we know Ian's going to probably be over 6'3" or 4" the next year or two, and he's going to have a big serve. And the thing, he's a lefty, and he's got some great spin, but he's a very smart and very coachable kid. So we know we're going to see some great things from him. Him and Elisant, another girl who puts in a lot of time. Then we have the ones in the wings: Coral Perez, Flora Gudino, Emmert Brody, and like I said, Malachi Negrete. We've got all these kids for the next 3 more years, and so it's still bright lights for Sulphur Springs tennis.
Absolutely, and when we return from a commercial break, we'll finish talking Wildcat team tennis and move over to talking all things Texas Longhorns. We'll be back. Welcome back to the October 2nd edition of the Coaches Show, and joining me is gracing us with his presence is tennis coach Tony Martinez, and we talked the Hallsville loss on Tuesday, and it was a very close one, as you mentioned, 11-8, but your team all but officially stamped your ticket to the postseason, but before you can focus on your postseason opponent, you have to get through the Marshall Mavericks, who come to town Monday for senior night for your program. Yes,
we do have them planned. It's still in question as of Wednesday or Thursday. He had 3 or 4 players who had just returned from COVID, and he might have had 2 or 3 more who went away from COVID. So, but right now, as of yesterday afternoon at 3:30, he did call and he did say, "Hey, they do plan to be here with somebody, some players on Monday evening. So we do still have that match going on at 4 o'clock. And then prior to that, 3:30, we do try to do a senior presentation, so on Monday. So we're looking forward to that. Technically, they don't have the total amount of numbers, so they really had to forfeit the match. So we've already won the match 1-0, but we still want to honor and let those kids still get to participate. So we're willing to go ahead and play that match with them, with whatever players they bring. I don't want to walk away and not let the kids play. So we are going to go participate. Even whether he brings 3 boys or 3 or 4 girls, we're still going to play the match. So I felt like that's what, if I want to have the respect for those kids that they want to try to play tennis. I don't want to walk away and say, hey, we're not going to play you. We will play them. So we're looking forward to that.
And potentially, are you envisioning like the Greenville match? Are you expecting a couple of JV players from the Mavericks to?
Yeah, they're going to play some of their JV's players, but we're going to play our freshman players. Some, we let them get out there and participate a little bit too. So we do plan to do that.
And that's super important for players because, a lot of times you've got rosters like, say, your program or Hallsville where it's really hard to kind of break into that, get onto one of those starting spots. And sometimes you kind of need one of these matches to kind of get your younger players out there and kind of get them some real-time action.
Right.
And then, that
will send us to the playoffs.
Right.
And the playoffs, we either play White House or John Tyler. Their match won't be until Tuesday night, so we have really no idea who we're playing until after Tuesday. But, we're looking forward to playing either one. I think if I have my chances or choices, I'd like to try to get back with John Tyler and play them. I think we do have a chance with those. And he feels like he can win over White House, so I'm wishing them the best of luck over White House. We've played White House the last 2 years, and we've lost White House also the last 2 years in the first round of the playoffs. But whoever it is, we'll be ready. We'll have all next week to practice to get ready for the following week, which will be October the 12th, will be the playoff match.
And you kind of mentioned this, but do you believe that, I guess, John Tyler presents a perhaps more favorable matchup for your players and program?
Definitely. I felt like that's what we felt like we could make it to the next round, if it's that team, but I just have to sit back and wait now, I mean, I'm pulling for John Tyler, but whoever it is, we're still going to go out and play them either way, and if it is White House, well, we're going to be ready for them too.
So we've talked about some of your younger gun players that have really stepped up and showed out this season, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention captain and seniors Jolie Cantu and Paige Meesey, who you mentioned earlier this week, having a great game. Cantu winning her mixed doubles match with Ian Westland, a freshman you mentioned earlier, and then Paige Meesey had some great shots you mentioned in the Tuesday loss.
She played her singles. Paige has really picked it up. Sad thing, I think it was Wednesday night, she broke her nose in a skateboarding accident. So it was amazing. She came to practice Thursday and said, I can't practice today. But no, Paige did well. She played doubles with Jessie Lee, who's a sophomore. And they did a 3-set match, and they won that in a tiebreaker. And if I'm not mistaken, the score was 15-13 in that tiebreaker. But in that tiebreaker, we were down 9-6. The other team only needed 1 point. They had like 4 match points against us, and we were able to pull it back up to tie it up at 9-all, and then to go ahead, and then it was 11-all, and it just went on and on. But we were eventually to win that match. But it showed that they never quit. That's what, and the whole team saw that too. But she also did well in her singles, and she's really done really well. And then we had our boy, the captain for the guys, Alex Romero. They played really steady, good doubles. They were out there a long time. And when you're out there a long time, then we know you're doing good. Maybe the scores don't indicate that, but they kept Hallsville out there for a while. And then he played really well in singles too, but still lost the match, but still competed in the match.
And that's what's important against again, a powerhouse program like Hallsville, where even if you can't get the match win versus whether it be a number one, number two, whatever, you're still battling them all the way to the end, and that's something that you love to see from a program, is just the dedication to the fight, and we saw that, and you mentioned that as much in your district opening win versus Mount Pleasant in the shutout victory over the Tigers, is that you mentioned that a player, and you mentioned this earlier in the coaches show as well, number of players, they'd finish their match, and then once they realized that they had the chance to get to the shutout, they went on and cheered all of their players on and tried to just support them the best they could to get that victory.
True. Very true.
And when we return from a commercial break, we'll be talking all things Texas Longhorn sports, so we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Coaches Show, where we've got Coach Tony Martinez talking Longhorn sports as a former assistant coach with the tennis program at Texas from 2008 to 2011. But for those who don't know, in what capacity did you serve in your time in Austin?
Well, I've been there over the last 30 years as the tennis director for the tennis camp. That's what I've been doing there. So I've been there since 1990. And then through the years around 2007 and 8, they had one coach that left, and I was there with the coaches, and they talked to me about, hey, would you like to stay on and be one of the assistant coaches? And I said, sure, that's a dream. You don't have to ask me twice. And I went ahead and went that direction. As an assistant coach, you're out there doing drills, you're out doing recruiting, you're talking to the parents, you're talking to the players, you take care of the players, you babysit the players, you make sure they get their work turned in on time, you make sure they get to bed on time, you make sure they make it to the plane on time. So you have a lot of jobs as an assistant coach other than being out there feeding balls, teaching them tennis, things like that. It's a 24-hour job. So, and it's not just like tennis coaches. That's the same way for the assistants in footballs, basketball coaches. Those guys are working 24/7, just to keep up with the kids. But granted, we were with great kids. I had kids from all over the world working that I worked. And what I really enjoyed, the blessings is for these kids are still playing tennis from 7, 8 years ago. They're right at their best point on the pro tours. 3 or 4 of them are playing for their Davis Cup teams. And, last year, me and my wife were fortunate enough, we had 2 players that I had playing each other in the finals of the doubles match in Dallas, Texas, for, I think, $500,000 prize money or something like that. But it was fun to watch your players compete on the court right there. Get to go to see them. And I've had 2 or 3 who competed at the U.S. Open, through the years. So that's nice to see too. We had this player for 2 years. We almost had Jack Sock, a real big time player right now, but he never committed to Texas. But he came to visit us several times. My biggest person that we had from, he didn't play with the Texas team, but he came to the UT tennis camp for 4 years, was Andy Roddick, who won the U.S. Open, who won Wimbledon, and he's a real good friend of mine. I mean, so like I said, I've known the kid since he was 12 and 13 years old. So that's been the beauty of working at the University of Texas. You get to meet some great people there and become lifelong friends.
In case you didn't know, what starts at the University of Texas at Austin changes the world. But the Texas Longhorns tennis team are the reigning national champions, the women's team. And we were talking about this during the commercial break, but they did it with Howard Jaffe, who left Texas A&M for Austin, and in 5 years won it all.
Yes, he has. Howard is a great coach, one of the best coaches I've encountered on the women's side. He's tough and sincere. Tough, but cares for his players. This guy is remarkably just a great coach. He knows how to get the best out of a player. He will reach in and push them to their limits. And he has done a great job. He's a great recruiter. He's got some girls that are on tour that didn't come back after COVID. They went ahead and decided to go on tour, and I've kept up with them. But he's still got a great program going on for this year too. You know, he didn't. When you win a national championship, you only have girls from all over the United States or the world that want to come and play for this coach. So with that, it's really helped the program with him being there. But no, you can't say any more than Howard Jaffe. He's just a gentleman, a gentle giant, but a great person, for the University of Texas.
And you mentioned how good winning is for recruiting, and you see that from a lot of college football powerhouse programs. But it also helps that they've got that new tennis facility in Austin.
Yes, they picked it up about, I'll say 3 or 4 years ago. 3 years ago, it's been open since 2016 or so.
Yeah, because I was about to say, my time in Austin when I was in college, it was either just being built or about to be finished.
Right. So it's a beautiful $25 million building, inside and out. The courts, they couldn't have laid it out any better. It was sad, to leave the old courts that had been there since probably the late 70s or so. I mean, the oldest courts that I know were back by the stadium on the north side. They were out in the parking lot there. There used to be the tennis courts there. But then they built these, and now these are here to stay. They're out there by the baseball fields, but the courts are inside. It's top of the line. We saw A&M's got a great facility, SMU's got a great facility, Arkansas, a tremendous indoor facility. But we traveled all over the United States. You play at USC, to Miami, to Notre Dame, to Alabama, and really Texas really did a good job in opening these courts up. So they went far and beyond to take care of. There's weight rooms in there. There's a jacuzzi in there that you can put 30 people in the jacuzzi. Video rooms, what they call a quiet rest wellness room. It's remarkable. It's really a different kind of a place, but it's great for the players, and it's great for the tennis program there at the University of Texas.
Yeah, and I was, a few years ago there was the Moncrief Newhouse renovations at the football stadium, and I know that caused a lot of uproar because I think it was a $150 million renovation for the locker room. But whether people realize it or not, it's a great recruiting tactic.
That's true. I mean, people go into Arkansas or you go to A&M. I've been in some of these locker rooms, and it's amazing. I didn't even touch the locker rooms at the University of Texas. It's one of a kind. Better than some of the football locker rooms that I've been in at the University of Texas. It's really up to the top. So, but no, it is one of the recruiting tools when you walk in and you see where you're going to be working out, your working conditions, and where you'll be changing in the locker room. All those little things do make a decision for a player that comes in whether, hey, do I really want to come here? And then after you see these things, they end up saying, I want to be here. So that's a good thing. It's all a recruiting tool. It's great.
And just going back to the tennis program at Texas real quick, and this could be for both the men and women's team, but what have you liked that you've seen from the Texas tennis program over years past?
Well, we've gone out. I mean, when I was there, we could boast about Texas tennis was because we only kids from the state of Texas. That was amazing when you could have 4 or 5 kids. We didn't go international. We didn't have anybody from anywhere. But then our eyes opened up around 2010 where we said for us to compete with, to stay into the, top 4 of the United States and the NCAAs, we have to go out. And we did go out and started recruiting from Mexico to England. We had some great players. We had a great from England. We had some from Croatia. We had great players from everywhere that came from all over. Then we went to the East here around 2014 or 15 and brought in a guy. I mean, he made it to the finals. He won the match for the national championship 2 years ago, back in 19 when the men did win the nationals too. And so, like I said, the recruiting has gotten better over the last, I'll say since I left, over the last 10 years. where they've expanded and no borders or, everything's open to bring in players from everywhere, from any point of the world. And it's amazing how we make these contacts, because these are all ex-UT alums or tennis players who are teaching throughout the world, and they say, hey, we have a kid here in South Africa. You need to take a look at him. And we usually believe who they are, who we're talking to. And so we'll go and send somebody over there, and they'll take a look, and they'll find his IDs and find out what he's been doing, his documentation of all the matches he's played. With all the computers and everything, you can find out who they played 2 years ago, 3 years ago, what the score was. So nobody can make up a score and say, hey, I beat this kid or I beat that kid. Over the last 5 years with the technology we have now, when they play yesterday at 1 o'clock, that coach somewhere, USC or UCLA, they know what the score is tomorrow. They know what it is. So, everybody with the technology knows who played who. It's like, oh, that kid just beat the kid we're looking at. Maybe we need to go look at that kid. So that's how the technology is helping in the recruiting area for all the colleges in here in the States.
And then last thing I want to discuss with you is I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the football team. It's been an interesting 5 years for the football program, going from Charlie Strong to Herman, and now first year with Coach Steve Sarkisian.
Well, Sarkisian, we know where he came from, and I guess that makes a lot of, a sound foundation. Him come from, the Alabama family, and everybody, and we all know that, if you come from there, as Nick Saban sends out different coaches, they're all successful forever wherever they go. I haven't seen one fall on their face yet, and so I think we did well here. I mean, you always think of the money we're spending, but I think finally we can be a little bit more comfortable and sit back and think, hey, I think we do have a coach now. Well, hopefully we'll be here for the next few more years. I'll try to take Mac Brown's, his being so long in his tenure. Hopefully we'll have someone who'll be here more than 3 years to 4 years. We think we have the right guy, and very happy with what we've seen so far. I don't want to jinx anything, but I'm looking forward to the Big 12 showdown here in 2 weeks, and we'll see how it goes there. I think that's going to answer a lot of our questions that we're looking for. I know we have a tough match with TCU this afternoon, but I think the 1 and 2 weeks is going to answer all the questions we want to know for the season, and we'll see how it goes.
I don't know that I've ever even mentioned this to you, but for those who don't know, I went to the University of Texas, and in my time at Texas, my sister went to the University of Oklahoma. She is a fourth-generation Sooner, so I was very happy to kill that tradition by going to the University of Texas. And I've gone to the Red River Showdown in 2016, 2017. I didn't go in 2018. That was Kyler's year. But I went to the Big 12 Championship. And so I went to 3 games in 4 years, with one of those games being the second matchup in a year. And all 3 of those matchups, Texas lost. So I have basically officially said I cannot go to Dallas if I want Texas to beat Oklahoma. And it's very unfortunate, but just the way that you perform versus rivals, that kind of does form a sense of nervousness. And I mentioned this to you in a commercial break, but that's what kind of has me worried against TCU, because the Horned Frogs, especially in Fort Worth, have fared very well against Texas since they joined the Big 12 back in 2012. And also, unfortunately for yours truly, I've gone to the Texas-TCU matchup in Fort Worth the last 3 times. And 2 of the last 3 times, one of those times, Texas lost, I think, 50-7 in 2015. In 2017, Texas did win in Fort Worth, but 2019 we lost again. So just kind of like with Oklahoma, it's kind of got me nervous, and maybe that's just the kind of tumultuous roller coaster we've been on the last 5 to 10 years with this Texas football team. But you mentioned being comfortable or feeling a bit more comfortable with the football program, and I mentioned this to you earlier in a commercial break. But the Texas beat Texas Tech in Austin last weekend, 70-35, and that's the most comfortable I've been watching a Texas game in probably 10 years.
Yeah, well, I think definitely a lot of Texas Longhorns were a little bit more comfortable last week after that. It was a great win, but we got to see a lot of things. You got to see the defense. We got to see, the people back in the safety area, who the people he's brought in too. But, he's got running backs now. We have running backs who can run, and it gives the guy more time to get that pass off, if they keep beating him up. But no, we have the running backs. We got 2 or 3 back there that can fly. So I'm very happy with that, and I know a lot of Longhorn fans are happy with that too.
Yeah, you mentioned the running backs, and this is not me speculating. This is not me looking at the camera saying, write this down, put it in writing. But Bijan Robinson, could he be the potential third Heisman winner for the University of Texas and the third running back to do it?
I believe he is.
I think he could be. If not this year, he could be next year.
But next year. But he's going in the right direction, and he's going towards the touchdowns. So we're that's all we need. But whether he does or doesn't, the guy is a very tremendous athlete. Receiving, has good hands, can receive the ball, can run after he catches the ball, and he only likes to go forward. He likes to run over people, so he's not afraid to get hit. So I'm thinking, like I said, yeah, he is I felt like could be a future candidate for a Heisman Trophy winner.
And that would be all too great of a relief for a Texas program that's just, like I mentioned earlier, just been on a roller coaster the last 10 years now. It feels like really just like talking about your Wildcat team tennis. It just feels like that, maybe not so much team tennis, but it just feels like both of those programs are moving in the right direction.
It's going in the right direction. This is true. I felt like I haven't been comfortable since, I hate to say this, since the field goal against the Aggies back in 2011.
Wow, simpler times.
And after that, it's been tough.
I wasn't even comfortable in that game. I think I signed off at halftime. I was just like, here we go. Texas is losing this game again, because I think that was the 5-7 year, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If not, maybe they were 6-6, but just struggled all year long. But that A&M team, unfortunately, I vividly remember, because they came into the season in the top 10, looked like maybe they could compete for a national championship. But that season, it was really weird, because A&M in the last year under Mike Sherman before moving to the SEC, they had so many leads on teams going into halftime, then would surrender those leads, and we saw that in the 2011 Texas game.
Right. So.
And honestly, that's kind of what has me a little nervous, but also excited, because it has been kind of nice to have those bragging rights for the last 10 years. But that could change in a big way here come 2025.
Oh, yeah. In the next few years, they'll be playing again. There's no way ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
So looking forward to it. I think, it's time. I sat back and, hey, I'm glad, hey, we don't have to, but I'm looking forward to it, and I think the state of Texas is looking forward to it. Let's play the game. Let's play the game. That's what the kids are here for, and that's why they went to school there for. So I think we're all ready for the game.
Absolutely, and not to take away from the rivalry with Texas Tech and the battle for the Chancellor's Spurs, but doesn't quite have that same intensity, that sort of almost, I don't want to say hatred, but that animosity that comes with the game.
True, this is true. I'm laughing and chuckling because I know what they wrote in the Austin paper, like how they throw the tortillas out there at Tech, and we use them for tacos in Austin. So, but I think it's going to come back. You lost a good coach out at Tech. He's in the pro ranks right now, and I think that kind of hurt the Tech program a little bit, trying to get over, getting a new coach in, and having to start all over again. But I think they'll build it back up. But it did lose its, I'll say its shine over this last year or two, but I think, they'll do well. Tech will come back. They will be back.
Absolutely. And I guess the last thing I'll ask you is, This is just speculation, but do you think Texas and Oklahoma will wait until 2025 to join the SEC, or do you think perhaps it might be a little bit earlier?
No, I think it'll be earlier. I mean, we already got these other schools ready to come in for the Big 12 already, coming
Right.
from all over the West Coast coming in. So I've, who am I to say though? But I feel like it's going to be done in maybe the next 2 years. I think by 2024 or something like that. I can see that, if not sooner, 23. But I think for sure we're not going to wait till 2025. That's not going to happen. It's going to be done before that, because the Big 12's already moved on and they've already got their players, and those teams are ready to move in immediately. It would be next year or so. So I mean, we got 22. So by 23, we could see an A&M Texas match here in about 2 more years. I see that in the foreseeable future as that happening sooner than 25.
I think so too. I think all it takes will be one more Texas loss to BYU, and they'll be ready to go to the SEC.
True.
I say that because I'm sure you'll remember that the 2 years Texas and BYU played back-to-back, Manny Diaz and that defense just got killed by Taysom Hill and Tanner Mangum, and then for me, that's like my Vietnam. I think of those games, and it's just, I just shake my head.
Sad days. Those are sad days.
Yeah, they sure were, but like we've talked about for the last 10 minutes or so, things look to be on the up for Texas, and unfortunately for their bitter in-state rival, Texas A&M, they lost to Arkansas for the first time since joining the SEC. So bit of a stumble for the Aggies this week, but they'll be looking to make the comeback this week. And Coach, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No. Just hey, thank you for being here. Hey, I'd like to thank our administration, Coach Owens, Mr. Lamb, everybody from Sulphur Springs, the administration building, for everything. We wouldn't be where we're at today without their support. You always look and you talk to coaches about, hey, what do you want to thank? I want to thank those people, because without that we wouldn't be where we're at today. So, like I said, thank you, everybody, and the Sulphur Springs community.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Coach, on the October 2nd edition of the Coaches Show.
I'm glad to be here.
And best of luck Monday heading into your final regular season showdown versus Marshall at the Tennis Center before y'all shift your focus to the bi-district round of playoffs.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And that'll do it for us here on the Coaches Show on October 2nd. I'm your interviewee, Ross Lubinsky. Thank you again, Coach Tony Martinez, for joining us. Shooting video for us is Doug Haston, and running the board for us the last few weeks has been Matt Jansen. And thank you, as always, Matt, for stepping up and being a pivotal resource here at KSST. We thank you for all that you've done. And that'll about do it for us here at the Coaches Show on October 2nd. We'll see you all next time.